Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I've learned as I've grown into the person that I am today. How are you guys doing today? You doing well? I just want to check in with you for a second and see how you're doing. If you want to see how I'm doing, you can go watch my vlog. I'm over there for an hour and a half every day talking about my life. But I have a feeling that most of the people that watch this channel probably watch my vlog as well. It just seems like those two channels kind of go together most. But anyway, let's get into the meditations today. I have 4 meditation books, but I'm going to start with the Daily Book of Positive Quotations by Linda Picone, just to put some positivity out there into the world for all of us. All right, April 6th, wanting more. It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor. Seneca. How many things do we need to make us happy? Fewer than we think. In fact, doesn't it sometimes seem like the more stuff we have, the less happy we feel? More stuff means that more stuff means more that we have to take care of, more that can suddenly go wrong on us, more clutter around us. We can't get everything we think we want, but we can readjust our thinking to find happiness in the riches we already have. It's a good day to count my blessings rather than the number of blessings I wish I had. I think it's a good meditation, especially in going through what we're going through right now, you know? And I realized recently, I was talking to some friends about this on the phone today, you know, like what my life used to look like before that seemed, I would say, pretty normal. It's like I realized how now, the stuff that I don't really need, you know, I would go through Starbucks every day, and don't get me wrong, I do miss my Starbucks drives. But it's funny because I think, like, even with that, you know, like I get up every day and I make a cup of coffee and the Keurig, and I never used cream before, but now I'm into these Starbucks creams. This is like the toffee nut, and I also like the cinnamon dolce latte one. I have like 6 creamers in there to last me for like the next 2 months. But anyway, you know, I would get up every day and I would go drive through Starbucks and I would go run errands for like an hour and a half. And it's not so much about the not going through Starbucks that I miss, which I do, you know, in all honesty. It's about the just like driving around, being able to go places and whatever. So like that's in reality what I really miss, is like the going into places, going into stores and just randomly walking around and looking at stuff, you know. That's what I miss. I don't know that I necessarily miss the Starbucks or the buying of things. Do you know what I mean? So anyway, that's interesting to me. And I was talking to friends about this today on the phone. It's like, you know, we used to go out to dinner like 3-4 nights a week. We don't do that anymore. And but we still, you know, typically eat together while we're watching a show or something, and or we'll make dinner together at the same time. And Alex might eat something different than I do, but we'll, you know, usually kind of like eat around the same time. And so, to some degree, we're like, first of all, we're saving a lot of money by not going out to eat. I'm saving a lot of money by not going to Starbucks every single day, you know. And what I realized is the things I don't need in my life. Don't get me wrong. I mean, for my review channel alone, if we can go back out again, I will start going to Starbucks and doing the fun drinks and stuff again, you know. But for right now, I'm not, and I've chosen just to, you know, stay at home. So anyway. But I started realizing, and I started looking at like all of the things that my old life used to look like. You know, I was thinking about the fact that like we canceled our trip to go to Miami because of the music festival got canceled, and then, you know, nobody was going to Florida, and so we canceled our trip. Obviously, it was the right thing to do, and now nobody's traveling, so we wouldn't have been traveling anyway. But I was thinking about, like, I would have bought all these unnecessary clothes just to wear in Florida. You know, I would have gone before to Target or something and spent like $100 on clothes and t-shirts. And then, you know, I would have probably bought more bathing suits already, even though I have 20 bathing suits sitting upstairs, you know, swimsuits, whatever you call them. And then I was thinking about, like, all of the money that we would have spent on food. Now, I miss, you know, being in Miami. That's always, like, our favorite trip of the year. But at the same time, it's like I looked at, like, you know, all the things that I didn't need that went along with it. So I think it's interesting when I look at my life just a couple weeks ago compared to now, and, you know, now it's like I enjoy my audiobooks, I enjoy watching Netflix, and these things are very inexpensive for me. They're things that I don't spend a lot of money anyway on, and even if I couldn't use those things, it's like, well, I have a million DVDs that I could rewatch, you know, and I have all these books that I've never read that I could start reading, you know, which I have. I started reading some graphic novels that I have in the kitchen right now. So I think it's like making me realize the things that I, you know, there are things that I like what I need and what I don't need, which is something that I've practiced the last couple years anyway, you know. And it also reminds me of the prayer that I shared the other day, which is help me to want what I already have. And I love that prayer, you know, because it makes you take a look at the things that you have and like, you know, let me want these things and not constantly wanting more and more and more. And I think sometimes, you know, it's like when we want some big object or some, you know, luxury item or whatever, there's a part of us that thinks that that's going to make us like 10 times happier inside. And I have to say that sometimes I am a little bit happier when I first get it, you know, but in the long run, like, you know, and sometimes when I wear it or whatever, if it's like a watch or something, you know, I am happy for the duration, but, or I do like that item. It doesn't mean that that thing doesn't bring me joy, because I do believe that some things can bring us joy, you know, but I don't think they will internally change us or make us internally happy. You know, they're Band-Aids on a fix, something like that. And, so they are not the things that make us, I think, happy internally, if that makes sense. So I think that's a great meditation. All right, let's go on and let's read from, I know because these get up late, so a lot of people watch them before they go to bed. Let's read from Nightlight, a book of nighttime meditations by Amy Dean. It's a Hazelden meditation book. I haven't read from this in like a week or so. Let's read from this, April 6th. Okay, April 6th. Often, the test of courage is not to die, but to live. Vittorio Alfieri. Against all odds is an apt phrase for survival despite the worst conditions. For those of us who have lived in an alcoholic home or with abuse or emotional starkness or poverty or handicap, it has become courageous for us to survive despite the difficulties. Yet many times we may feel it would be easier to just give up or be easier to give up. But isn't courage survival? Despite the odds? When we listen to the stories of our program's members, we need to think of each person as courageous. To live is to grow. To grow well is to strengthen our faith. To have faith is to see beyond ourselves to the completeness of life and our part in it. To be part of life is to accept what we have and to strive to bring what we want into it. To do so is to survive by using the beautiful tools that give us life, hope, faith, and trust. I am grateful for all I have survived and all I will survive because of my trust and faith in a higher power. And I think it's an excellent meditation. You know, in terms of like a recovery program, it's interesting because I was talking to like my old sponsor the other day, and I'm trying to check in with so many people on a daily basis, you know, and I was talking to him the other day and talking about just like how meetings have changed, because now like all meetings pretty much that I'm aware of are online. And like I know my home group meeting on Tuesday nights is online now and stuff. And we were talking about that, and you know, he just has a flip phone. And so I was saying to him, because he's kind of old generation, and I love him for that, you know. And I said, have you been able to attend some meetings? And he goes, I haven't yet. He goes, but I'm gonna, he was talking about the next day, and he was like, I'm gonna do a 7 a.m. meeting tomorrow. And he was like, apparently I can just call in. I don't have to like be on a computer, because he's like, I don't have a computer, and he doesn't even have a computer, which I love. I think that's so sweet, you know. And he's like, but apparently I can just call in and listen, and then I can talk when it's my turn. And I said, yeah, that's totally how you did it. And he goes, you know, I said, well, how are you doing? He goes, well, people call me and we talk steps and whatever. And he said, you know, I've stayed connected. He said, I think that you have to remember, like, when this program started, he said, you might have, you know, like one person in New York and one person in Cleveland, you know, or one person in, you know, San Diego or Sacramento and one person in Oklahoma. And, you know, like they were only talking via a phone at that time, you know, or letters even. Maybe they were just writing each other's letters back and forth, he said. And he said, you know, how blessed we are to have all of this technology that allows us to do this today. He goes, you know, when you even think about it, the fact that we have 40, 50 people in a meeting on a regular basis, he goes, is like crazy. And he goes, and so, you know, like the book has always been meant to like carry the message. And I said, yeah, I never thought of it that way, you know? And, I mean, I had thought of it that way, that the book is to carry the message, but I had never thought about, like, how blessed we are today compared to, like, the old-timers when, you know, 12-step programs came around. And I was thinking about that, you know, like, in regards to, like, my grandparents that lived through, like, the Depression and stuff. And especially, like, I was thinking about my dad's family. Because both my parents' families were very poor growing up. But my dad's family especially was. My dad did not know his grandfather until he was 4 because he was in World War II. My grandmother got pregnant right before he left. And then when he came back, he was a homicide detective. And they were very, very poor. My dad always says that. He was like, we were so poor we had an outhouse till I was 21. And that was like in the late 50s too. I think about that. You know, my dad having an outhouse would have been the late 50s, early 60s, you know. And So, you know, my grandfather was a homicide detective, and there was 5 of them, 5 kids in the family, and my dad would say things like, you know, in the summer, like, you know, mom would give us like each like a nickel or something, and we would go down and we could each get like one of those like long bottles of pop, and then we would each have our bottle of pop for the week. And he was like, my one aunt would like look in the bottle to see if anybody had drank hers and stuff, you know. But I've said to him many times, I've said like, well, how did you get through it? Like, was it so tough and whatever? And he goes, we didn't know that we were that poor. Like, we really didn't know, you know? That bird just landed right out there again that I was talking about the other day. That's so crazy. It's just like right outside looking at me. Oh my God, it's got twigs in its mouth, so it must be making a nest. Oh my God. Anyway, you know, so it's interesting that like my dad and his, you know, sisters and his brother who has since passed, that when they get together, they tell these stories of when they were younger, and their happiest stories were when they were the poorest and they had the least, you know? And I think about that, and I think that really, like, people and memories and being together is, like, what makes the most out of life. And I know that, and sometimes I forget that. Sometimes I get sidetracked, but the reality, you know, is that that's what it's really all about, right? Charlie Brown. I mean, really, though, you know? And some of the most miserable people I've met in my life are the people that have the most money. But I will also say some of the happiest people I've met in my life have the most money. Some of the most miserable people I've met in my life have the least. And some of the happiest people I've met in my life have the least. I don't know that I think that... I think what that says is that money is not a determinant between, like, how happy you are in life. It's, you know, what you do with it, how you spend it, things like that. Somebody's texting me. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed those meditations. I hope you guys are staying safe and healthy and sane and busy. I hope you're staying busy and at least trying to enjoy every single day. And I love you, and I will see you tomorrow.